Have you ever sat caressing a really soft piece of fabric and asked yourself, where does this magical material come from? Most of the answer lies in the cotton fields, the silkworm cocoons, or from petroleum. But today, I want to tell you about a different story, a story whose main character actually originates from the kitchen. It is the story of the fabric made from milk. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But this is not a fairy tale or science fiction. This is a complete, true chapter of history with a hopeful beginning, a short golden age, and a quiet end. Only for us to suddenly realize the valuable lesson it left behind nearly a century later. During World War I, when bombs flew everywhere and fabric was scarce, people turned millions of liters of excess milk into clothes. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, in the 1930s, Italy produced more than 1,000 tons of milk-based fabric every year. Think about it. If it weren't for this invention, could the history of our sewing have been completely different? Today, I will tell you this crazy but inspiring story so that you, curious sewists like me, can feel more deeply about our ancestral legacy. Let's explore. First, let's go back in time to the early days of sewing history. You know, our ancestors, from ancient Egypt to ancient China, were always troubled with finding fabric raw materials. Cotton from plants, silk from silkworms, wool from sheep. But in the early 20th century, when the world wars broke out, everything was turned upside down. What was the biggest pain for sewists at that time? It was scarcity. According to a report by the International History of Science Institute, during World War I, Germany faced a severe fabric shortage, leading to millions of citizens having no warm clothes. What did they have to do? Here's the problem. Is there a way to turn surplus into fabric? Wait, many sewists today must be thinking, fabric from milk? Must be a joke. How can milk protein turn into a durable fiber? That is the most common misconception. People often think fabric only comes from living plants or animals. But actually, science has proven otherwise. Let me set up a surprising detail. Guess who was the first person to turn milk into fabric? Not a modern scientist, but a German engineer named Friedrich Todtenhaupt in 1897. According to documents from the German Museum of Science, Deutsches Museum, he experimented by mixing Casein, the main protein in milk, with acid to create a hard film, then spun it into fiber. New insight here. Initially, it was only used for film or toys, but then, boom! By World War I, Germany turned it into a wool substitute. But wait, this is the most shocking plot twist. This invention initially failed miserably. Imagine, the first shirts made from milk were prone to mold, dissolved when washed in water, and smelled like spoiled yogurt. According to data from the European Textile Association, in the 1920s, over 80% of milk fiber products were rejected due to poor durability. The pain of our ancestors back then was immense, guys. They were curious, they experimented, but then were disappointed because the technology wasn't enough. I know many sewists today are the same. You love history, you want to recreate ancestral legacy, but sometimes you run into difficulties with modern fabrics, right? That's why I'm focusing on this, so you can see their persistence is the lesson for us. Then the climax arrived. In 1935, the Italian chemist Antonio Ferretti completely turned the tide. He improved the process by combining casein with formaldehyde, creating Lanital, the first commercially produced milk fabric. According to Fiber2 Fashion, a globally reputable textile organization, SNIA Viscosa, the Italian company, produced over 5,000 tons of Lanital in just the first 5 years, accounting for 10% of the substitute wool market share in Europe. Shocked yet? Fabric from milk was not only soft like silk, naturally antibacterial, according to World Health Organization WHO research. Casein has high antibacterial properties, but also environmentally friendly because it utilized excess milk. The world wastes over 128 million tons of milk annually, according to FAO. The process to turn milk into fabric is not spinning milk threads, but a delicate chemical process. Imagine it through 4 main steps, like a magical recipe. Step 1, extracting the soul. Milk is slightly acidified, or enzymes are used to separate the casein part from water and fat. This casein part is dried and ground into a fine off-white powder. Step 2, dissolving and transforming. This casein powder is dissolved in an alkaline solution, like sodium hydroxide. At this point, it is no longer powder or milk, but becomes a thick, viscous liquid, called dope, like a liquid base fiber. Step 3, extruding the filaments. That special liquid is pressed through a mold with countless tiny holes, called a spinneret, like a micro shower head. When passing through those small holes and coming into contact with air or a weak acid solution, it solidifies into long, thin fibers. Step 4, tempering to mature. These raw fibers are still weak and easily damaged. They are soaked in a formaldehyde solution, a chemical, so that the casein molecules bond more tightly, becoming durable, stable, and less prone to shrinkage. After that, they are stretched, washed clean, dried, and then we have the milk fabric yarns, ready to be woven into fabric. It's amazing, isn't it? From a glass of liquid milk, through human hands it has solidified into something completely different, which can be woven, dyed, and sewn into clothing. But that golden age did not last. There were two main reasons leading to its obsolescence. No. 1, the rise of the plastic king. In the early 1940s, synthetic fibers from petroleum such as nylon and later polyester were introduced. They were cheaper, many times more durable, especially extremely good at being wrinkle-resistant and fast-drying. Compared to milk fabric, which was less durable when wet and easily wrinkled, it completely lost the commercial battle. Number 2, internal problems. The milk fabric production process required formaldehyde to stabilize the fibers. At that time, people were not fully aware of the health hazards of this chemical. Furthermore, large-scale handling of excess milk was also complex and costly. By the late 1940s, early 1950s, most milk fabric factories closed down. The dream of edible fabric sank into oblivion. So the story of milk fabric seemed to have ended. But you know, history is often a circle. Today, as we face the plastic waste crisis and pollution from the textile industry, the dream of biological, regenerative, friendly materials is awakened again. New technology allows for the creation of safer and greener casein fibers. Designers are starting to look back at old ideas with new technology. The story of milk fabric teaches us that no idea truly dies. It only sleeps, awaiting a new time and a new way to be reborn. As fabric lovers, tailors, or simply consumers, understanding journeys like this helps us appreciate every piece of fabric in our hands more and make wiser choices for the future. And if you are curious to know what the modern descendants of milk fabric look like today, how they are being applied, then next week I will have a short video sharing about 3 reborn materials that are on the rise in sustainable wardrobes. Please subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the surprising world of textiles with me. Thank you for listening to this story. See you on the next journey.